You ever notice how you spend years just trying to keep your head down, do things right, mow the lawn, paint the shutters, fix the fence when the wind knocks it loose, thinking, maybe if you don't ruffle feathers, the universe won't notice you? Yeah, that was me. I figured if I played by the rules, especially the HOAs, they'd just leave me alone. I'd heard the horror stories, mulch, two red gnome armies getting evicted, basketball hoops mysteriously vanishing overnight. But I always thought, hey, I'm not asking for trouble, so trouble won't come looking. That illusion crashed and burned the day the first letter arrived. It was almost funny, just a warning about my trash can, lingering past 9 a.m. on pickup day. I shrugged it off. Then came the mailbox complaint. Apparently mine was leaning a little. I guess the ground just does what it wants after a few good storms, but whatever, I straightened it. But the notices kept coming, each more ridiculous than the last. By the time I got hit with a citation for excessively mature vegetation, I knew someone was watching me. And not in a neighborly way. One day I come home from work, and there they are, 3 HOA board members standing just past my property line, all businesslike, pointing and whispering like they'd discovered a crime scene in my backyard. The thing is, they were eyeing my oak tree. Not just any tree. 80 years old, planted by my grandfather the day my dad was born, back when this whole place was farmland before the developers came in with big promises and bigger rules. That tree's branches were like the arms of every family memory I'd ever had, shade for cookouts, a canopy for 4th of July, even the grave of my first dog nestled in its roots. So I walk over and in my best neighbor voice ask if I can help. Pamela, the queen bee of the HOA, flashes this sweet plastic smile and says it's just a routine inspection. But then she says, they're concerned my tree might be diseased. Liability, she says. All I can think is, you're not worried about my tree, you're calculating something. I'd had that tree inspected last year. Arborist said it was a beauty, strong as ever. But that didn't matter to Pamela. You know what I mean? It was never about the tree. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the stories that Oak had witnessed my niece's rope swing, my grandfather stubbornly refusing to sell this exact corner of land to the developers, the way he'd always say, some things are worth holding on to. And for the first time I had this sinking feeling like the HOA had picked my tree for a reason. 2 days later the hammer dropped. Formal notice my oak was a danger to adjacent properties. I had 30 days to take it down. They even attached a photo red circle and all citing some vague code 12.3b. I just stood there under those branches, hand on the bark, feeling the kind of anger you can't even put into words. But I wasn't about to let them win easy. I wrote the HOA with my arborist's report attached, hand-delivered a copy to Pamela, emailed everyone. Then I waited. Silence. On the 9th day, another letter nastier than the last. Daily fines, legal action, forced remediation. I called the HOA, no answer, left a voicemail. That's when I realized this wasn't about rules. This was about power. So I started digging old family boxes, land deeds, survey maps, whatever my grandfather might have squirreled away. The man was organized, but in his own twisted way, insurance box full of medals, tax folder stuffed with birthday cards. I didn't know exactly what I was hunting for, just that I needed some proof this tree, this patch of dirt belonged to me, like really belonged, not just on paper. The neighbor across the street, Joel, told me over coffee that the HOA had started talking about land unification, like they wanted more control, more order. Outliers like me with my weird old lot and my ancient oak didn't fit the vision. Joel figured Pamela was gunning to connect a greenway for a new walking trail. Guess whose property sat right in the path? A week later, I get another official letter. Now I've got 10 days before they threaten court-authorized demolition. Demolition? For a tree? I laugh, but my hands are shaking. That night, I hire a lawyer. Lawrence is the type you want in your corner. Quiet, sharp, the kind of guy who only smiles when the other side screws up. He asks, "Do you have the original deed?" "Just copies," I say. "We'll find it," he replies. We file for an injunction, buys us a week, maybe 10 days. But you can feel the noose tightening. Then the chainsaws come. 2 trucks pull up early one morning, workers in hard hats, Pamela hovering with her clipboard, that fake smile back in place. I show them the injunction. They hesitate. Pamela shrugs. By the time the sheriff gets there, the tree is down, 80 years splintered in minutes. I just stand there staring at the stump, the silence heavy as a funeral. But then as I'm picking through the wreckage, something glints at the base of the roots. A rusted metal box. Heart racing, I crack it open inside. Folded and yellowed is the original deed 1954, my grandfather's signature, and a clause handwritten that says, "This land, my land, is forever excluded from any HOA unless a direct heir says otherwise." I read it twice, 3 times. Excluded. In black and white. The oak didn't just shelter my yard, it hid the one thing that could save it. Lawrence gets the deed authenticated. Turns out the county had a microfilm copy, but the HOA never checked. Suddenly I have leverage. We file a cease and desist, get a property rights hearing, and as more evidence piles up, emails, board minutes, Joel's secret recordings, it becomes clear the HOA didn't want my tree. They wanted my land for their footpath project. In court, it's like a movie. Lawrence lays out the deed, the clause, the surveyor's confirmation that my lot was never legally in the HOA. Pamela's lawyer flails. Lawrence drops Joel's recording of the board plotting to remove obstacles to redevelopment. The judge listens, frowns, then finally says what I'd been dying to hear. Your property was never subject to HOA jurisdiction. The destruction of your tree was unlawful. She awards damages, calls for an ethics investigation, tells the HOA to stay the hell off my land. Walking out of that courthouse, I felt lighter, like the sun had finally come out after a year of storm. But Pamela wasn't done. She kept pushing, spreading rumors, even sent a violation for soil disruption caused by their own crew. That's when I went public. Gave my story to the local paper. Pictures of the oak, the deed, my grandfather, the court ruling. The story blew up. Suddenly I'm getting letters from all over, people fighting their own HOAs, people thanking me for proving you don't have to just take it. A retired surveyor named Mitch reached out. Said he remembered my grandfather refusing to sign over our lot back in the 70s. Showed me the hand-drawn map, Harper clause and all. Lawrence filed for full damages and defamation. The board tried to spin it, but the neighborhood had changed. People started checking their own deeds, standing up at meetings. Pamela resigned in disgrace. The HOA started losing ground. I didn't gloat. I invited the neighbors over, told them what I'd learned, showed them the old box. The clause even helped a few of them look up their own property histories. Lawrence suggested we start a little website to help others, freeroots.org, just resources, templates, guides for people in the same boat. It took off. People from all over shared their stories, fights over butterfly gardens, ramps for disabled kids, all the little wars nobody ever hears about. I planted a new tree where the old oak once stood, a live oak, native strong. Placed a plaque at its base, not just for the tree, but for the truth it protected. Each morning I touch its trunk, feeling the promise of something new. When I look out now, I don't just see my yard, I see roots that run through every story, every neighbor who ever felt powerless. That's the thing. I want you to remember, it was never just about a tree. It was about standing your ground, digging until you hit bedrock, refusing to let somebody else write your story. In the end, that's what saved my land. Not the letter of the law, not the deed itself, but the stubborn belief that what's yours is worth defending. And if you ever find yourself in that spot fighting for your little corner of the world, remember the deepest roots survive the storm, even if nobody notices until the branches fall. So tell me, what would you have done? When does a fight for your land become a fight for everyone's? Drop your thoughts below, because trust me, there's more to this than property lines. Sometimes standing up is how you make a place your own.